In a marriage with a 20-year age gap, a young husband was found lifeless in a car, and a widow with a mysterious past stood at the center of it all. The 2018 murder case in the city of Shuka sent shockwaves across Japan. The victim was 25-year-old Yokoyama Tatsuaki, the fifth husband of Fujiko, a 45-year-old woman known for marrying younger men and, incredibly, the mother of Tatsuaki's former classmate when the murder took place. All suspicion gradually turned toward the wife and a mysterious man who had appeared at the funeral. What seemed at first to be a tragic family incident soon unraveled into a carefully calculated plot, one built around love, manipulation, and a ruthless ambition to claim insurance money. This case would forever brand Yokoyama Fujiko as the Black Widow of modern times. Today, we're going to uncover a gruesome case hidden behind the facade of what seemed like a sweet age gap marriage, where a former classmate of the woman's son became her fifth husband, only to end up a victim inside his own home. And as always, before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to support our channel. Thank you so much, everyone. In Mie Prefecture, Japan, tucked away between the peaceful fields of the quiet Inao Awaya neighborhood, lay a shocking secret. It was the story of Yokoyama Fujiko, a 45-year-old bar owner with an unassuming appearance, yet a private life filled with dark and twisted secrets. 5 marriages, and all 5 husbands were much younger men. The peak of scandal came when her current husband, Yokosama Tatsuaki, turned out to be a former classmate of her own son. Ignoring all the gossip and criticism, Fujiko continued to live her life as if nothing could touch her. But that fragile peace shattered one fateful night at 5 a.m. on Sunday, May 13, 2018. A frantic phone call from Fujiko woke her son. Her voice was trembling with panic. Tatsuaki was missing. She told him that the last call she received from Tatsuaki was him saying he was almost home. But then, nothing. Still at her bar, Fujiko urged her son to go check the house. But when he arrived, Tatsuaki's white van was already parked quietly at the gate. Sitting eerily still in the darkness, a terrible gut feeling pushed him closer. He peered through the car window, and the sight inside left him horrified. Panicking, he immediately called his mother. Within minutes, police arrived and sealed off the scene. The car door was unlocked, revealing a chilling truth. Yokoyama Tatsuaki lay motionless in the back seat, his face pale and lifeless. The autopsy later revealed ligature marks around his neck, a bruise beneath his left eye, and traces of sedatives in his system. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation, which occurred in the early hours of that same morning. There were no signs of struggle inside the car, suggesting the victim may have been killed elsewhere. His wallet remained untouched, ruling out robbery as a motive. When officers moved in to inspect the house, they found the front gate left wide open. Inside, Tatsuaki's phone and glasses were lying on the floor of the first-floor hallway. Dried bloodstains were found on the floor, later confirmed to belong to the victim, proving that a violent struggle had taken place inside the house. The evidence at the scene told a grim story of brutality. A fierce confrontation had erupted within those walls, ending with a life stolen inside a white van. The identity of the victim made the case even stranger. 25-year-old Yokoyama Tatsuaki, his wife, Yokoyama Fujiko, wasn't just 20 years older than him. She was also the mother of his close friend. Their twisted relationship began years earlier, when Fujiko's son innocently brought Tatsuaki home to hang out. Little did he know, his experienced mother, with the charm of a woman who was financially secure and knew how to win over a young man, would seduce his friend, while her son remained blissfully unaware. His mother and his friends secretly fell into a forbidden affair. In 2013, they turned their scandalous relationship into a marriage, ignoring every warning and piece of advice from those around them. But the most shocking part was yet to come. Tatsuaki did something almost no Japanese man would ever dare. He abandoned his birth family name, took on his wife's surname, and officially joined the Yokoyama household. It was seen as an act of disgrace. A man giving up his family name was, to many, a loss of pride and dignity. Their household became the subject of endless gossip. People mocked Tatsuaki behind his back, calling him a man who lived under his wife's thumb. But somehow, it seemed he had found his own version of peace, ignoring the world's judgment. He went to work every day, and his small happiness came from the lunchboxes lovingly prepared by his much older wife. Meanwhile, Fujiko lived like a character in a romance novel of her own making. Even in her 5th marriage, she loved with wild, reckless passion. She proudly clung to her much younger husband's arm, parading him around town, defying every stare and whisper behind their backs. But in the middle of this strange, sugar-coated and scandalous love story, there was one person hopelessly caught in between, unsure what to think or how to escape it. Fujiko's son, the boy whose former classmate, was now his stepfather. To outsiders, it was nothing more than neighborhood gossip. But to him, it was a cruel, absurd family drama in which he was the unwilling audience. Every day, a new act of this twisted play unfolded before his eyes. The childhood friend he once shared classrooms and secrets with now sat in the seat of a father. Class reunions turned into a nightmare. The affectionate glances his mother gave his close friend, now her husband, left him no choice but to quietly leave, swallowing his discomfort in silence. Not long after the wedding, Fujiko quickly invested in a sleek, modern house in the newly developed Inao-Iwaya neighborhood. 2 years later, they moved into their brand new home, a place meant to be a fresh start, but one that would soon become the stage for an unforgivable crime. At the same time, Fujiko's son moved out, the only way he could escape the suffocating tension and tangled mess inside his own family. Life in the new house was quiet, almost eerily so. They kept to themselves, rarely speaking with neighbors. The passionate flame that once burned recklessly between Fujiko and Tatsuaki began to fade with time. Fujiko sought comfort in her bar, while Tatsuaki buried himself in work. Each of them quietly drifting in opposite directions, they continued to maintain the appearance of a peaceful, loving couple. The tension between Tatsuaki and his wife's son gradually eased, and on the surface, everything seemed to have settled. To outsiders, it looked like the household had finally found its balance. But in truth, that calm was nothing more than a fragile mask, hiding a tragedy that was quietly waiting to surface. As the last person to have spoken with Tatsuaki, Fujiko immediately became the primary subject of police questioning. She told a story that, on the surface, sounded plausible. That night, she claimed, Tatsuaki had suddenly burst into the second floor of her bar, looking terrified and covered in blood. Gasping for breath, he told her he'd been attacked at home and had run there to hide. Fujiko said she spent the entire night trying to calm him down. Then just before dawn, he insisted on returning home alone. The last phone call came from him at exactly 5:00 a.m., after which, there was nothing but silence. Worried, she called her son. Phone records confirmed that Fujiko did call her son around that time. However, when police questioned the bar employee who was working that night, his testimony completely contradicted hers. He firmly claimed that he never saw Tatsuaki enter the bar. The only thing he remembered was Tatsuoki's car, which had been parked in the lot since around 2 a.m. and stayed there until his shift ended. In theory, it was possible that the employee didn't see Tatsuaki, since the bar had a back entrance that led straight to the second floor. But one detail in the employee's testimony shattered everything. He clearly remembered that when he and Fujiko left the bar together at the end of the night, the bar owner herself pointed at the car and complained that her husband had left it there again and disappeared somewhere. That remark completely contradicted the idea that she knew her husband was upstairs. To explain this inconsistency, Fujiko claimed that she had to pretend not to know in front of the employee because she was keeping Tatsuaki's whereabouts a secret from someone else. She stated that after the employee left, she returned to the bar to be with her husband. Police confirmed that the bar was about 4 kilometers from the victim's home, roughly a 10-minute drive. GPS data also verified Fujiko's alibi, proving that she never left the area around the bar on the night of the murder. As a result, the investigation shifted its focus to Tatsuaki's personal relationships. The theory that Tatsuaki might have made enemies at his construction job was quickly ruled out, as he was on good terms with everyone. Fujiko's son was also considered a suspect, given his complicated relationship with the victim. However, he had a solid alibi. He was home asleep at the time of the murder and was eventually ruled out as well. The focus of the investigation shifted back to Fujiko's past. She had a very clear pattern when it came to relationships. All 4 of her previous marriages ended the moment she found a younger, more attractive man, someone she would fall for passionately but grow bored of just as quickly. This raised the theory that one of her ex-husbands might have committed the crime out of jealousy. However, after investigating, all of them had solid alibis. Every lead seemed to circle back to the same person, Fujiko. The case quickly turned into a media frenzy. Fujiko's house became the center of attention, with cameras aimed at it from every angle in response to the relentless scrutiny. A notice was posted on the front door under Fujiko's name. To all media outlets, "Our family is going through an immeasurable loss at this time. Our only wish is to have peace and privacy as we make arrangements for our loved one's passing. We kindly ask that you respect our private space, refrain from disturbing our neighbors, and avoid filming or taking photographs around our home. We sincerely hope all parties will limit coverage and respect our need for privacy." A few days later, Yokoyama Tatsuaki's funeral was held. Fujiko declined all interview requests. At the funeral, she appeared with her mother, dressed in black, maintaining a sorrowful and silent demeanor. However, some reporters managed to capture photos from a distance. One of those images caught a striking moment. Fujiko was seen speaking with a young, unfamiliar man, their gestures and proximity suggesting a certain closeness. 1 month after the murder, Fujiko was spotted again in the Jukimaki area. She was seen leaving a house, followed closely by the same mysterious man who had appeared at the funeral. His identity was quickly uncovered: Kamiyama Mao, a 29-year-old office worker. The revelation immediately caused a media firestorm. When confronted by a reporter, Fujiko coldly responded that they were just friends. She claimed she had visited his house to rest because she wasn't feeling well. When asked about the killer, she said, "I hate him. If I could, I'd take his life with my own hands." But those words of hatred were delivered with a blank expression, her eyes still fixed on her phone. At the same time, police secured the crucial piece of evidence. A security camera behind the bar had captured everything at 4:30 a.m., the exact moment when only Fujiko remained inside. The footage showed a young man stepping out the back door, driving the victim's white van to a concealed spot nearby. Moments later, he returned and, together with Fujiko, carried a large, suspicious-looking object and placed it in the back seat of the van. The man drove the van away, while Fujiko calmly returned to the bar. The entire sequence in the footage lasted around 15 minutes. When investigators compared the images, the man's build perfectly matched Kamiyama Mao. Traffic camera data later confirmed that the white van was driven in the direction of Fujiko's house. A theory quickly emerged. The object being moved was none other than Tatsuaki's body. This marked the pivotal turning point of the entire case. Charged as accomplices to murder, Fujiko and Kamiyama Mao were both summoned for questioning. At first, the two remained calm and stubbornly denied any involvement. Kamiyama Mao insisted he had an alibi, while Fujiko clumsily claimed that the man in the security footage was actually her husband, Tatsuaki, helping her move some belongings. However, that lie quickly fell apart. The figure in the video clearly matched Mao's build. Phone records showed that Fujiko had called Mao at the exact time she claimed to be comforting her husband. The most damning evidence lay in their text messages and emails, a meticulously planned murder conspiracy, detailing everything from the time and place to the division of roles. faced with overwhelming, irrefutable evidence. Both Fujiko and Mao were forced to confess. Their statements revealed the entire sequence of the crime and exposed the involvement of a third person, Fujiko's mother, Yokoyama Aiko. The plan was set in motion around 12:15 a.m., using a spare key Fujiko had given him. Kamiyama Mao lay in wait inside the house. The moment Tatsuaki opened the door, Mao launched a brutal attack. During the struggle, Tatsuaki dropped his phone and glasses, suffered injuries, but managed to stay conscious. He broke free and fled in his car, unaware of who the attacker was. Desperate, he drove straight to his wife's bar to seek help, unknowingly running into the second trap. At the bar, Fujiko played the role of the concerned wife, handing Tatsuaki a glass of liquor laced with a heavy dose of sleeping pills. Once he drifted into a deep sleep, Fujiko called Mao. The lover quietly slipped in through the back door and went straight to the second floor to avoid being seen. After the last employee left, the two of them carried out the murder together. Afterward, they worked together to carry the body into a van, which Mao drove back to the house to stage the fake crime scene. Finally, Fujiko made her most ruthless move. She called her son, fabricated a story about her husband disappearing, and urged him to hurry home. In doing so, she turned her own son into the first witness, while creating the perfect alibi for herself. And with this confession, the curtain finally fell on the entire case. Just as many had suspected, Kamiyama Mao was Fujiko's new lover. According to those who knew her, Fujiko had a very clear and unwavering type when it came to partners. She was only attracted to young, good-looking men, showing no interest whatsoever in older ones. She was a master at reading people's emotions, with years of experience running a bar. Fujiko knew exactly how to make a young man feel special and irreplaceable. Compared to girls their own age, she possessed the allure of an experienced woman, someone who knew how to care for and spoil them. In the early stages of every relationship, she would overwhelm them with sweetness, elaborately prepared lunchboxes, handwritten love letters. Very few young men could ever escape her carefully spun web. However, Fujiko's passion, though intense, burned out just as quickly. She was constantly chasing new relationships to satisfy her addiction to the thrill of novelty. Over time, the age gap between her and her lovers grew wider, almost as if it were her way of clinging to excitement. An unspoken rule seemed to govern her previous 4 marriages. When the spark faded, Fujiko would leave without hesitation and move on to the next man. But with her 5th husband, Yokoyama Tatsuaki, that pattern was broken. Instead of walking away like she always did, Fujiko chose to end his life. What made Tatsuaki the exception? Why did he become the thorn that she was determined to remove at any cost? Basically, this marriage started off following Fujiko's usual playbook, but the difference this time was how it ended. The massive age gap soon led to petty arguments, and Fujiko quickly grew tired of the relationship. But when she tried to make her usual quiet exit, just like she had done before, Tatsuaki reacted in a way she didn't expect. He refused to let her go. For Tatsuaki, this marriage was a huge sacrifice. He had endured public judgment, even given up his family name, all for Fujiko. So holding on to the relationship wasn't just about love, it was about pride. It was his way of proving that he hadn't made a mistake. But to Fujiko, his stubbornness turned him into an obstacle. And that's when Kamiyama Mao entered the picture. Slightly older than Tatsuaki, handsome, and radiating that rebellious bad boy charm, Mao was exactly the breath of fresh air Fujiko had been craving. To her, he wasn't just a lover, he was the perfect tool to get rid of Tatsuaki. Fujiko began spinning a tale, painting herself as the helpless victim of domestic abuse, trapped in a toxic marriage with a violent, obsessive husband who refused to let her go. Slowly but surely, Mao was drawn into the fantasy. He saw himself as the hero in her tragic story, a knight in shining armor with a mission to rescue the damsel in distress. The plan to eliminate the victim had been in the works for months, carefully discussed and documented in a trail of saved text messages. As for the mother, Yokoyama Aiko, investigators confirmed that her involvement was limited to the initial ambush. She didn't take part in the actual crime, and for that reason, she wasn't prosecuted. All criminal responsibility fell squarely on Fujiko and Kamiyama Mao. 1 year later, the trial finally began. By then, the question was no longer who did it, but who was the mastermind and who actually delivered the final blow. In court, Fujiko launched into her performance. Tears welled up as she spoke of abuse, of being pushed to the brink, painting herself as a desperate woman with no way out. She kept glancing at Kamiyama, playing the part of a remorseful lover, hoping for forgiveness, maybe even a chance at reunion after serving her time. But Kamiyama didn't respond. He just kept his head down, silent, unmoved. Later, Mao confessed that during his time in custody, he had a moment of clarity, was horrified to realize just how deeply he had been manipulated. He decided to come clean. According to his statement, the entire plan had been orchestrated by Fujiko. After the initial attack failed, it was Fujiko who urged him on, saying, "If we don't do it now, there won't be another chance." And then she did it herself while her husband lay asleep. Fujiko delivered the final blow. Mao said he was only called in afterward to witness the aftermath. Hearing Mao's confession, Fujiko immediately turned on him without hesitation. She shifted all the blame onto her former lover coldly and shamelessly. She even stood before the court and calmly described, in chilling detail, how Mao had strangled Tetsuaki. The once allied lovers who had committed the crime together were now tearing each other apart in a desperate attempt to escape punishment. At that point, the prosecution dropped a bombshell, a piece of evidence that would change everything. It turned out that Fujiko wasn't driven by love alone. She had a financial motive too. Just 1 month before the murder, she quietly increased her husband's life insurance policy to 60 million yen. Testimony from Tetsuaki's father only strengthened the case. A mere 2 weeks after his son's sudden death, Fujiko called him, demanding that he give up his inheritance rights. The elderly father expressed deep regret, wishing he had fought harder to stop the marriage from happening. His testimony became a crucial piece of evidence, shedding light on Fujiko's financial motive. In the end, the verdict was delivered. Kamiyama Mao was sentenced to 14 years in prison for murder and disposing of the body. 2 months later, as the mastermind behind the crime, Yokohama Fujiko received a 15-year prison sentence. The court's ruling made it clear Fujiko was the mastermind, with premeditated actions such as altering the life insurance policy and using sleeping pills. Both accepted their sentences without appeal, officially closing the case. However, the ripple effects of the case continued long after the verdict. Japanese media quickly dubbed Fujiko the Black Widow, a term reserved for women who exploit, love to deceive, and sometimes even kill their partners for financial gain. In reality, Fujiko wasn't an isolated case. Before her, Japanese society had already been shaken by other infamous Black Widows like Kanekashima and Chizako Kake. Among them, Kake is considered the classic example. She specialized in meeting lonely older men through matchmaking services, then marrying or dating them only to kill and steal their assets. Cases like these have dealt a heavy blow to traditional views on marriage, while forcing Japanese society to question itself. What are the cracks within society that create such extreme individuals? Looking back, Fujiko's life was one endless hunt. She chased after young men to satisfy her emotions, and in the end, hunted down her husband's life for profit. But the hunter herself fell into the trap. The bar that once staged her tragedies has since changed owners, slowly fading into oblivion. The Yokoyama Fujiko case shocked the world not only for its cruelty and cold calculation, but also for the distorted picture it painted of love, marriage, and trust in relationships. Fujiko is the quintessential modern Black Widow, someone who uses affection as a tool to manipulate, control, and ultimately destroy others for personal gain. What made this case especially chilling was the victim, a young husband who entered the marriage with trust and hope, being murdered by the very person who once vowed to care for him. The involvement of Fujiko's young lover and even her own mother in the murder plot only added layers of complexity, revealing a tangled and cold web, not just in love, but deep within family ties. From the societal perspective, this case reflects the dark side of power imbalances in relationships, where those skilled at emotional manipulation can lead others toward destruction. At the same time, it raises serious questions about distorted views of love, especially when affection is exploited as a cover for ambition and crime. It's a painful warning about the fragile line between true love and toxic possession. After the Yokoyama Fujiko case, many difficult questions arise, not only about individual actions, but also about the cracks in society and the human psyche. Was the relationship between Fujiko and her young husband really love, or just manipulation, disguised with sweetness and charm? What drove a woman to reach such a dark limit? What do you think about this case? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss. And before you go, don't forget to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications, so you won't miss out on the most classic true crime cases right here on the channel.